The local economy is officially out of recession. Gross domestic product grew by 2.2% in the third quarter on a quarter-on-quarter basis. It follows the economy contracting in the first and second quarters, which by definition meant it was in recession. The main drivers of the growth included manufacturing, transport and finance sectors. The latest outcome actually beat expectations. Now, while most economists expected that South Africa would come out of a recession, the average growth expectation was 1.6% for the third quarter. On the release of the news, the rand firmed by as much as 10 cents against the US dollar. The currency had been firming slightly ahead of the news in anticipation of the positive outcome. Now, for more on this, I'm joined by Statistician General at SABC, Risenga Maluleke, from our Pretoria studio. Thanks so much for your time on SABC News. Let's speak about these main drivers of growth, and if you could give us more insight into the numbers there.
Good evening to the viewers. We have observed that in the third quarter of 2018, manufacturing and in particular areas of wood, paper, petrochemical products, iron, steel, as well as machinery have contributed immensely to the contribution of manufacturing, which recorded 7.5% growth quarter on quarter, but with a contribution of 0.9 of a percentage point to the 2.2% of growth that we have observed in this quarter.
With that figure, and also reading it with the ABSA Purchasing Managers Index, which just came out last week, what can we read about the manufacturing sector in South Africa as a whole? Is that cause for us to start celebrating, or is it still a bit early for that?
I've missed you there. The line, I can't hear you at all. My apologies for that.
My apologies.
I need to be connected online.
For the bad line. We were talking about the manufacturing sector. We saw a 7.5% expansion in the third quarter. Together with the ABSA PMI, which reached its highest levels in October since July, is there cause for us celebrating that the manufacturing sector is going to continue growing, or is it still too early just looking at those two factors?
We cannot speculate as Statistics South Africa what will occur going forward. All we do is to measure what has happened. And of course, in our monthlies, we are able to track that and do a final compilation for the quarter. So, and as you know, the economy is very interesting. It doesn't observe a linear process in everything. So what you see now, you might not necessarily see in future. Look at transport, for example, which has also contributed into the 2.2% of the growth in this quarter, and having contributed about 0.5 of a percentage point coming out of the freight sector of the transport, which previously in the previous quarter hadn't done well. So there are so many things that play part in the economy, but we wouldn't be able to speculate up front.
I'm glad you've spoken about the ups and downs. If we take a look at the agricultural sector, falling 29% in the second quarter, seeing in this quarter adding 0.1% percentage point to that GDP figure. Some people are saying agriculture is a volatile sector. Would you attribute that up and down to the factors that you were speaking about just now?
Certainly, if you look at agriculture, it does fluctuate, and it's volatile, and it can be seasonal. And of course, if you look at previously, it contributed a negative 29%, and now we are seeing about 6.5 of a growth in terms of quarter on quarter. My apologies, previously it had actually grown by negative 29%. So now we have observed a growth of 6.5%, a positive one. but the contribution is only 0.1 of a percentage point. But if you look at agriculture in general, as its contribution to nominal GDP as a share is always very low. Your highest, usually the finance sector, which has a share of 20%, and retail about 18%, and manufacturing about 14%, and agriculture is sitting at 3%.
Thanks so much for your time on SABC News. That was Statistician General at Statistics South Africa, Risenga Maluleke.